Well, the Germans succeed in opening up the temple. But this proves to be a pretty bad idea when a number of Rappas come running out. Essentially, a Rappa is a giant cat. It's a cryptid, really. No one really knows if they exist or not. But they are extremely fast, extremely strong, and are somewhat intelligent. One can almost say...
perfect organism.
They just buzzsawed through the entire German force as though they were nothing more than Mordrin soldiers. Although there is one humorous point in one of the German states.
Get to the chopper!
Yeah, he actually puts that in there. That's really a good nod, I have to say, and really works well with what's going on.
Well, the Rappas completely destroy the Germans' camp. On an idiotic move on the Germans' part, instead of having the two Apaches that they brought with them in the air flying combat air patrol, they instead decided to have them both land and have the pilots get out. So that when they tried to run to the helicopters in order to combat the Rappas, they both died just like Pharaoh and aliens.
When Race and the American team were captured, they were locked inside a number of vehicles. Race and several members of the science team were locked in a Humvee. Now, Riley for some reason gives an explanation of what a Humvee is, and you would have imagined that by 1999 everyone would know what a Humvee is, so it does seem like a frivolous bit of information.
Now, if you will pay attention closely, this is a bookshelf. It's somewhat similar to a gaming rack, except it actually holds books.
Moving on, the cats see a nice box dinner and decide to attack the Humvee. And this is where the book gets even more wonky. Okay, Race radios a sergeant named Van Leeuwen. Now, he is Race's bodyguard, so to speak. And Race asks him what he should do about the cats. Whereupon Van Leeuwen tells him to press a button on the underside of the steering column. When Race presses it, the vehicle starts.
Seriously? A magic button that turns the vehicle on? Why would you install such a thing? Anyone with a modicum of intelligence is going to find it before too long. It's not like it's hidden, it's right underneath the steering column. So, I can imagine that this is why they allowed Riley to put this in his book, because by this point, just about everyone is going to know what the thing is.
So, Race expertly puts the vehicle in reverse and promptly drives it into the river. Thankfully, instead of landing in the water, he crashes into a parked Huey helicopter. Of course, the Humvee-Helo combination is not all that buoyant and begins to sink into the river. Now, this river is filled with camions. A camion is something similar to an alligator, except that it's considerably larger. Well, a camion is able to kill one of the members of the team, but everyone sans Race is able to escape. And thus we come to the first QuickTime event. Race gets out on the roof of the Humvee and climbs on the rotor of the Huey and then runs across it. Oh, and it gets better. The rotor comes to rest across the backs of several camions.
That reminds me of something.
Obviously, Race makes it back to shore, and when he does, he seeks refuge within an armored personnel carrier. All of the Germans, save about 4, are dead. One of the Germans just so happens to be a female, a one Renee Becker, and she becomes Race's love interest. The Germans and Americans discuss their next move, and we learn that another team of Germans are headed for Villefort. Except these Germans are special Germans. You know where I'm going with this. They're Nazis!
Race and the rest of the Americans are taken back by this revelation, with one of them going as far to say, Nazis in the 90s? It's not all that hard to believe. There still are modern-day Nazis, although they're not the highly trained super commandos they're going to have to deal with.
Of course, the Nazis have a supernova, so the Americans and one of the surviving Germans decides to go and try and retrieve the idol once again. Only issue is that the cats are still there, and they still kill them all. They initially thought that the cats were only nocturnal, so it was safe to assume that during the day they would not be active. Well, it turns out that they can be active in any type of darkness. Even though they are somewhat intelligent, they still haven't quite got the grasp of set time limits yet.
Well, after this debacle, Race retires with the Germans' copy of the manuscript. This manuscript is the complete one. And after reading it for a short time, he finds that really all you have to do is douse yourself with monkey urine. Yeah, monkey urine. Huzzah? Anyway, A number of the surviving Green Berets douse themselves with this simian excrement, and once again quest to try and retrieve the idol.
A short time later, the Nazis arrive. Now, the Nazis are fully armed and armored with perhaps the most advanced equipment available both then and now. They have highly advanced tactical combat assault armor, and they are all armed with H&K G11s. It is explained that they stole both the guns and armor. Now, these are the same commandos that attacked the monastery. Since they had access to the full manuscript, they are all protected via the primate-based biological protection system. They immediately set about terminating any and all Rappas in the vicinity.
The Nazis terminate the Rappas by using what Riley calls a super machine gun. Really, a 4mm round is not super by any means. Just because you can carry a lot of them and fire them really fast does not make them super. Well, due to this attack, Race decides to lend assistance to the Green Berets that are attempting to secure the idol.
They get the idol, but they are attacked by the Nazis. As they attempt to escape them, Race loses the idol and gets involved in yet another QuickTime event. Prior to getting shot by a Nazi, he leaps over the side of a cliff and falls, until he uses his grappling hook attachment on his M203 grenade launcher and stops himself. Yeah, I think he was trying out to be Batman at that point. Now, in all reality, falling that far and stopping that fast would have ripped his arms out of his sockets. Well, in any event, the Germans escape with the idol, and Race and the remaining Germans and the surviving Green Berets pursue them. When they catch up with the Nazis, they find that they have an entire armada of seagoing vessels. This entire sea battle sequence is just awesome in every sense of the word, although there are a few issues with it. One of the ships is called a Rigid Raider. Now that just sounds like a G.I. Joe vehicle at best. Also, in the course of the battle, the multinational multi-role combat team capture one of the ships, a river patrol boat, or PIBR for short. Eventually, only one person is on said vessel. Now the Nazis of course want to take it back. Well, the individual on the ship, a one Douglas Kennedy, ends up saying something rather foolish in the course of trying to repel the boarders.
Get off my plane.
Come on, Riley, you're clearly an adept writer. You don't have to research Harrison Ford lines. In all reality, that line wasn't very good to begin with, and adding the fact that it's a boat he's talking about only makes it worse.
The addition of the word punch just before every word just makes this entire sequence horribly cheesy.
Now, there are some cheesy lines that are pretty good.
Remember, Sally, when I promised to kill you last?
That's right, Major. You did.
I lied.
Now that line was awe-inspiring on so many levels, but the get punch, off punch, my punch, boat punch is just so bad, it's almost Power Rangers bad. Well, at least they didn't have any pyrotechnics. Overall, the entire river battle is really well done, with a huge amount of QuickTime events. You know, it really reminds me of Mission 1 of Metal Slug 5. The battle comes to a close when one of the members of the multinational team decides to trigger a highly advanced explosive device. Essentially, this explosive device is almost like a pocket nuke without the radiation. It swallows up what's left of the Armada. Race and Renee are captured prior to this explosion by the Nazi military commander. Douglas is able to capture the Nazi seaplane, and Van Leeuwen is able to escape via a captured speedboat.